Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. This week, we are talking about the secrets of prosperity. And I hate the word secrets. Wish we would stop using. I shouldn't say
I love it. I
hate
just
either.
included it in my text message.
These aren't secrets. These are truths, and these are every week when we share with you, we're really just reminding everybody what our soul already knows, which is, well, we're going to talk about that today. David, I have a whole list of things I wanted to share. I know you have. You want to throw out one quick secret really quickly before we
for those people who only watch 1 minute of our show. Data shows that many of you just watch 1 minute. So we want to give you a secret in that 1 minute. One of the things we're going to talk about is the belief system around receiving. This has been, from my experience of doing whatever we do for a long time, is that most people are not connecting to prosperity, whether that's the physical abundance or the feeling and the blessings around the abundance that they receive, because they have certain belief systems about receiving, enjoying, manifesting, holding on to abundance that is sabotaging that energy. So it doesn't even matter if you have a great work ethic and you're incredibly talented and you are
those are very good things.
Very
to
well
have.
connected. All of those things are great things. We're going to learn how those things can help you draw energy, but the manifestation of that energy and the holding on of that energy, and by manifestation we mean, does this abundance create blessings in your life, or does it tear your family apart? Does this abundance help you become a better human being, or does it cause you to decay and atrophy spiritually and physically? So all of those, that's called the manifestation of the blessings. So we're going to learn about belief systems and how we can optimize those belief systems to be able to connect to greater abundance.
Right.
And a host of other things we have written down here.
Every week we do our best to glean from the wisdom of Kabbalah, and most specifically the wisdom of the Zohar, the most powerful and practical secrets, truths, and suggestions, so that you can not only take advantage of the gifts of this week, but you can take these principles, these concepts into your life on a daily basis throughout the year, throughout your life. So part of the way we do this is by preparing. We independently prepare what we want to share. We share it with you, but we also rely on your comments, your questions, your suggestions. So if you're watching live, you can put your comments in the comment section. You can also email us if you don't want to share your comments and questions publicly at energyboost@kabbalah.com. And we go back periodically during the week to answer those questions. So if you post something, I would give us at least, 24 hours, but I like to go back and check throughout the week and reach out to those of you who've asked questions. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, CastBox, and Stitcher. You can find us on YouTube and IGTV, I think on Tuesdays. Yeah. And the truth is that our impact is only as great as our audience. So if you are getting something from the show, if you know somebody that's struggling with abundance and prosperity, you can take a minute now to share the show, tag them in the comments, forward them the link, whatever works for you. But this is today. I always say this, but imagine if everybody this week, or 50,000 more people on the planet, open themselves up to the possibilities of the energy of this week. We are here to give you the weather forecast, the spiritual weather forecast for the week. But this is something that you can take into your lives and also share with others.
Okay, great. So where should we start?
Where should we start?
If you have any questions, you can chime in here. I will start by sharing some of the notes that we had of the energy that we can connect to this week. The first question that every single person should ask themselves, and it's a question that I use as a barometer of what I need to do that day, especially, but for the future as well, is what do you have certainty about that you are meant to manifest? Because I think a lot of people are doing a lot of things, and they're trying different things, and their emotions pull them this way and that way, and they're listening to what everyone else is saying. And sometimes you watch other people's success and you're like, oh, I want that, or I want to do that. It's very important that you can connect and feel and know deep down inside yourself, what do you feel, at least you have certainty about, that you are meant to manifest? And the reason why that's important is because ultimately that's where your soul is going to be leading you. So you could be trying to go right, but your soul is always going to be pushing you left. And instead of fighting your soul, try to deep down inside connect to what you feel your soul is supposed to manifest. Now, what does that even mean? Let's say personally for me, I feel, I see, I feel, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I have to, whatever, my essence is going to somehow affect large amounts of people. I felt this always as a child. I didn't know how it was going to manifest. I grew up thinking I was going to have a casino. That's actually what I used to think. I was going to open up a casino.
Think big.
Yeah,
own a casino.
I was trying to think what makes a lot of money. Casinos make a lot of money. And I loved gambling back then. And I said, I'm going to open up a casino. The truth was, I knew I was going to affect a lot of people and make money. That's what I felt. But how, what? Next thing you know, you take a vow of poverty and you join the Kabbalah Center and you go spread spirituality. Far opposite from what it was to open a casino. But the truth was always still there. The truth was guiding me in that direction. And every day you uncover another layer of that truth. And I think it's really important for people to constantly ask themselves, ask the Creator, ask their soul, what is right for me? What do I know without a shadow of a doubt deep down inside myself that I am supposed to do? How I do it, that will change all the time. But first be clear about what you see as a vision of what you're going to be, what's your power in this world? What's your effect? What's the reason why the Creator brought you into this world? Does that make sense? Is that too vague?
It makes sense, but I would give a more direct way on how to reach that or come to it. What's an exercise that our listeners can do so that they can tap into that truth?
Okay. What's an exercise that our listeners can do to connect to that truth? I would say, for example, if I asked our listeners, do you feel that you are, do you want to be a billionaire? Well, most people will say, oh, yeah, I would love, I would like to have that. I would like to be a millionaire even. But I'm not asking you, what do you like to have? I'm asking you, what do you wake up in the morning feeling as this burning inside yourself that if you didn't have it, you feel like you'd rather die?
I would imagine that a lot of people listening are not burning inside for anything, and that might be part of the problem.
I think there is a burning, and we're just not listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about wanting to hear what that voice is, and then you'll start to hear it. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of what we were learning in Kabbalah. Kabbalah was revolutionary for the two of us because it just told us what to look for. It pointed us in the direction of how to hear the messages and how to read the signs that the universe was giving us, so everything in life became clear. The messages and the signs are coming. It's just that we're so distracted and we don't even know that it is a message or a sign. So the first thing that I'm saying is, you're going to wake up in the morning and there is something burning inside of you. You're either ignoring it or you are distracted, so you're not paying attention to it. Or you're shutting it down because you're afraid of it. But there is something that burns inside of you, and you need to know that whatever this thing is, it also will generate wealth. It will also help you have a great life, family life, friend life. Because I think sometimes people think if I follow this voice, then I'm giving up other things. And it's not true, because this thing that you feel inside your soul, this comes from the light of the Creator, and the light wants you to have everything.
Right.
And there's no such thing as the light only wants you to have half or a quarter.
I'll give you a visual on that. I read a beautiful, this actually related to, I came across it in looking for something for my kids, but I think it's a beautiful example of what you're talking about.
Please.
It's an exercise a teacher was doing, and he said to his class, I don't remember, maybe they were at the beach, they said, let's see how many rocks we can fill in this jar. And they filled the jar with rocks, and he said to his students then, can we fill any more rocks? Is there any way to put any more rocks into the jar? And they looked and they realized, yeah, there's smaller rocks. So they went and they filled the jar with smaller rocks. And then they looked at the jar and the teacher said, is there any way you can fill this jar any more? And they realized, well, now they can fill the other gaps with sand. Mm. And the illustration is of it, really that if you focus on the important things, you'll have the space for all of those smaller things that you're worried about losing or sacrificing or missing out on. But it's those big rocks that have to go in first, those, what David calls that burning feeling, that voice inside. If you pay attention to that, you know, the having time to golf and all the other things that you're worried about losing will also fit in your jar, will also fit in your vessel, because you're focused on the important things first and not the sand and the gravel that often take up the space that are not really worth our time.
That's a beautiful example, and that leads us to point number 2, which also will help us identify what is that burning feeling inside of us that we're supposed to manifest in this world. I was taught in Kabbalah that stop all the things that are just wasting your time and energy that just shouldn't be there.
And to empty the sand from the jar first.
Yes, exactly. There are things that we're doing, things that we're saying, things that we're eating. There's people that we're spending time with that if I actually had to sit and make a pros and cons list of what's going on, who's adding value or who's detracting from my life, it would be very clear to see that, I don't know, 50, 60% of the things that I engage with are completely draining me of not only my time and energy, but are convoluting my mind. My mind is not clear, therefore I cannot listen to what my soul is supposed to do. To be successful, and you talk to people who are successful in whatever area of their life, you know, what are the words we use? They're focused, they have certainty, they have drive, they have perseverance. It's because they've learned to cut out all the stuff that is draining them, all the stuff that doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in having that life that I desire, that purity or that strength. It just doesn't belong. And the question is, do we have the strength to remove the things that don't give us strength? And if I can prioritize that first thing in the morning, throughout the day, then the voice inside you, that burning feeling of what you're meant to do in this world, becomes louder and louder. But it's being muffled by all the distractions that we're putting in our place. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, that to me, that's another way of saying abundance starts on the inside first.
Right.
In order for us to live truly abundant lives, the shift takes place on the inside, and then the amounts or the material follows suit. It's first a feeling, and I use the word feeling because, you know, knowing that you have everything you need and you want is by no means saying I have enough. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what I see in the work that I do with people, and we're not even aware of it. Like you said, we don't pay attention. They say, if I could just get through the end of the month, if I could just pay off my student loan, if I could just get this promotion, that perception that only or just or that it's so limiting and so constricting. The feeling of abundance is no limitations. It's, you know, I may not have the $1 billion in my bank account, but I may have access to everything that I need in a way that is not limiting me or depleting my resources. So you don't have to... prosperity and abundance is not a dollar amount or a currency. It is an energy. And this is, we're here this week talking about it because this is the week that the universe is supporting us to create that energy from within. And then the waves, the concentric waves, can work outward as we deepen our connection to that energy, that feeling on the inside.
We say it almost every week, where this show and Kabbalah in general is trying to help each one of us prioritize our spiritual internal correction and work before everything and anything else. And I have seen firsthand that when I prioritize the transformation of my fears, my reactive behavior, my negative traits, before I do anything else, it opens a gateway so that everything else becomes easier and it flows. For example, if I have to choose between 6 different life paths to take and they're all pulling me in a different direction, or 2 different colleges, I don't know which one to go to, or should I move to this city or not, these decisions, there is a place that your soul is meant to go. How come it's not clear to you? Because of the prior work, this prior spiritual work hasn't been done. Meaning, I didn't break a fear yesterday when it came up. Instead, I ignored it. I'm still holding, I'm still upset that this person, my spouse, my brother, my whatever is annoying me and aggravating me. I'm still holding on to, and I'm waiting for them to change. That consciousness of I'm waiting for someone to change, for example, as we learned in Kabbalah, is going to make every other decision in your life unclear. And then you're going to think, oh, it's so unclear. What do I got to do? I got to ask professionals. I got to research it. You actually don't. You just got to do your internal spiritual work when it appears. And when you prioritize that, you'll have less confusion and less decisions that you don't know what to do. That's kind of the idea. Because I think people are so focused on, all of us, we're so focused on trying to fix our problems in the physical world. And then when we have time, we'll get to the spiritual work. Kind of put that maybe towards the end of the day, if at all.
Right. And I think that what brings a lot of people to spirituality is a problem that needs to get solved.
Right.
And because of that, sometimes the problem gets solved and sometimes it doesn't. But the ultimate destination is I'm more focused on what I came here to do. That's sometimes frustrating when a person finds that problem still is not solved. But even in looking at how, what my life has, quote, proven to me, that's the other thing that I think is very difficult to break in this department of prosperity and abundance is if it's been a struggle for someone to have enough to pay the bills, it's very hard to break out of that. It needs to be a struggle mentality, or I'm just not destined. We actually had a question on a previous show that Kabbalah teaches that when each soul comes into the world, it chooses a deck, a hand of cards to play, and sometimes that those cards, the cards that are chosen are somewhat limited or prohibitive in the prosperity department. What I'm talking about, even when you say the word abundance, I'm thinking about a story that somebody told me recently that they needed to get a new car. Okay, their car broke down, blah, blah, blah. And we were working on when is the best time to make that purchase. It's an investment. You want it to last. In the meantime, somebody showed up, a friend of one of her, maybe her mom or her dad showed up and said, oh, I'm a mechanic, and fixed the car. And it probably has another good 6 months on it, let's say,
sure,
so that she can do the research and find the right, what's the best what's the best car for the money, blah, blah, blah. But originally the movie showed up as, I need to do it tomorrow. I don't have a way to get to work. Mm-hmm. And through a shift in mindset, it became, I do need to get a new car, but now I can do it proactively. And I can make sure that I am getting the best value for the dollar. And that awareness, that internal recognition that, and maybe this is the second consciousness shift, it's not just that abundance is a feeling, it's that everything that comes to me from the Creator. So whether I have to fix my car right now, or I have to get a new car right now, or somebody's going to show up and appear to be changing the movie for me, it's not that person, that guy, that the friend of the parent wasn't the cause of the improved situation. The person with the shift in consciousness created the abundant situation, the less limited situation.
Beautiful, beautiful. So 2 questions just came in based on what we were saying. One person just wrote, well, what if I'm disabled? What about when a person is disabled, they receive less than $1,000 a month? There's no abundance in this situation. So what we're saying is, and then the second question was define abundance. So I would define abundance as the feeling of a flow of energy that fulfills you, right? So that could be a dollar. It could be $1 billion. It doesn't matter. It's not a quantity. It's you feel that you're being sustained and fulfilled energetically all the time. And there's no stagnancy. There's a constant flow of energy in your life. This is what true abundance is. Now, going back to the question about a person who is disabled. So let's say a person is
I thought that was the answer to
What?
the person who was asking about disability.
No, so one person said define abundance, and the second person said, well, what if
I
they're...
think they're both, you did both in one statement.
Well, they are connected to each other, but I like the disabled comment because we all kind of feel we have a disability when it comes to manifesting what our soul's telling us to do. For example, I don't have the right background. I don't have the right education. I don't have the right family. I was abused as a child. I don't have the right opportunity. I don't have
we
enough
label
money.
ourselves.
Yeah, we all do. And people want to build a business. I don't have the funding. I don't have the whatever. What we're trying to say here is, if the Creator has put inside of you a feeling of something you need, that you can manifest, or a reality where you see a vision of yourself that you should enjoy, the Creator put that inside you. It means the Creator also created a pathway by which to reveal it. That pathway can only be discovered by first changing our belief system. So this person, if you're disabled, sitting at home and you can't even move, let's say in the worst case scenario, you can't even move, your brain is just working. Then you have to say, I know with certainty that I can manifest this feeling in my heart that I'm meant to reveal energy. And then what will happen is the universe will start to open up and send you different openings, guidance, either it's people or wisdom to help manifest it. Next thing you know, this person can become a YouTube reality star. Who knows? Just from home, being disabled, right?
I don't know if you were on the show. I think it was before you joined us. But we talked about a woman who had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Mm-hmm. And she decided that she was going to, for those of you that remember the show, your minds are going to be blown. She was going to opened a YouTube channel. I don't know what you call it. She started a series, sort of like a bucket list, really doing the things that she was afraid to do.
Because she knew she was leaving this world.
Right. And she also wanted to inspire people. Yeah. And I think that that's the key, that her mission was the end of the world doesn't have to be the end of the world. And I remember looking at her page back when I heard the story. Fast forward, I think it's almost 2 years. We have a mutual friend. That's how I found out about it. She came to me and she said, "You're not going to believe it." She went in for some procedure and they found out that all those tumors are benign. And she has a very long life. I mean, she does need to take care of remove the tumors and for her healthy body function. But she went through those almost 2 years of championing this spirit of never give up. Nothing has to define or label you. It is what you make of it. And here she has literally like a 180-degree switch on her life's movie. So, in thinking about those people that feel, and the reason I'm saying it is because it felt like
that's beautiful.
No dead end.
Beautiful.
Right? It's a diagnosis. There is no way around it. Here, it's to my obviously delight in hearing that this woman who was a parent, it was a very sad story to hear, has not only accomplished her inspiration mission, but can go on to live a long life and be healthy and whatnot. So to whoever's out there listening and thinking, well, I can't help this or I can't help that, it really is that internal switch of, I'm not going to let my story, my labels, my history, my broken belief systems from the past define me.
I think a lot of the questions we get is, okay, once I change my belief system, what about X, Y, and Z? The thing is, we have to first focus on changing the belief system. What should the belief system be? It's the certainty. You take it one day at a time. It's the certainty that I have something I came to this world to manifest. And if I start to feel it, once you start to feel it and know what that is, then it's the certainty that the Creator wants me to manifest it. And that's it. There's nothing else. How, what, when, where, all of that is doubts.
Okay, right. But can we talk about something before we get to the happy ending? People don't like to be uncomfortable. It's not human nature to desire to work hard or to make effort. And I don't even mean work hard 10, 12-hour work days. I mean do what's uncomfortable for us. Do what's painful for us. I shared a few shows ago, and I got a couple emails about it, that for me, when I was younger, the hardest thing for me to do was talk. Okay. And if I let that own me, I don't know if we'd be here today, right? So, and I'm not using that as like, pat me on the back, look at how awesome I am. Believe me, I have my struggles as well. But the hard work isn't necessarily the kind that makes you grow your biceps, or you have to wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever. It's the hard work is relative to your soul's hand. And that part of, I think, I know some of the people asking those questions, and even I know, there have been cases, people that I've dealt with over the years, that they've gotten fired, right? And it feels very much, it's hard not to feel a victim when you're let go without, wanting to go necessarily. But again, that's the universe is always conspiring in our favor. The fact that it may not feel good in the moment isn't necessarily a bad sign.
100%. And we've had many shows on this, that we need to have a belief system that just because something doesn't feel good now, or something is pushing back on us now, all of these things, it says that before the revelation happens, there's a process where the vessel has to be built. And everything will happen that is exactly what is your weakness will emerge, because once the weakness comes up to the surface for you, then you have the opportunity to transform it. But external stimuli need to come to awaken those weak points. And that goes without saying. And these are all new belief systems that I know we're learning in Kabbalah, which is, wait, if I feel bad today, it means revelation is coming. This is a belief system that's been implanted in our mind. I woke up in a bad mood, it means revelation wants to come. Not that it's going to be, it means that it wants to come. Because just because I had a bad morning doesn't mean I'm going to have a great evening. I'm going to have a great evening if I transform from the morning.
Right.
So whenever the negativity comes, whenever the pain comes, whenever somebody is insulting you or being difficult with you or pushing back on you, it means revelation is trying to come. And there's something that you have to do or we have to do to transform and shift that energy. So I have another question here. What if abundance feels like I just want more grandchildren? Right. This is actually a good question. And I think the best way to answer that is every day there's a new revelation or abundance that wants to be manifested in your life. And sometimes it can be the same thing for weeks or years, and it changes. And when it's ready to come, kind of like when the baby is ready to be born, it starts to push on you, and it's letting you know it wants to be
Really, it pushes
revealed.
on you,
Yes,
David. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So,
David has firsthand experience.
First-hand experience of when the baby wants to be born, it starts pushing on you. So spiritually, let's say it's that reality of having grandchildren, it's the reality of getting married, or it's the reality.
I think David's point is when the situation is not necessarily in your hands to create.
Right.
It technically. Right.
It's not in your hands to create, but the creator is basically telling you, Sherry, it's time for you now to reveal this thing. It's in your movie. How are you going to get there? You got to do spiritual work and physical work, but it's there. It's ready to be revealed at any moment. And every day it changes. When I was 20 years old, I didn't feel I needed to get married. So I wasn't working towards that or praying for that. But when I felt my soul was telling me, okay, it's time, right? So then all of a sudden that you felt that pressure. So it means it wants to be revealed.
I would actually say to that person, if that's your desire, what it really means is that your soul has more love and care to express. And I would start expressing it now before the more grandkids show up. That the vessel, the receiver could be a grandchild, but maybe someone else in the world needs it. And by looking for that, the way that you can express that love and care to others, you might find something unexpected.
That's very good. So that is the method by which you can reveal this energy that you should have in your life. You feel you should have grandchildren. The Zohar also says grandchildren and children are people whose lives you change. So if you are responsible for changing someone's life, they become your child. Next thing you know, she could be having a lot of people whose lives she's changing, but not having actual physical grandchildren. So if we feel something strong in our heart we're supposed to receive, kind of take it to its root source. It might be a different way that energy is manifested. Beautiful. I have another great question here. I think it's on my feed.
Yeah, because I don't see these
what
questions.
are some proactive tools and actions we can take to reprogram our belief system? How do you figure out what our belief systems are in the first place? Aren't a lot of them hidden from consciousness? So this was point number 3 I was going to share. What the most powerful thing for me, and I hope you can share what it is for you, Elisheva, is spending time with people who have great belief systems. I was just yesterday messaging with two people who don't have any Kabbalah or spirituality, but one of them is very successful in doing business in something, and he was sharing. I'll write something like I wrote something like, I think retail is dead. Like that's like something I believe, right? Retail is dead, and online is
You mean
booming.
brick and mortar?
Brick and mortar stores are dead, and that's kind of my business belief system.
You heard it here first on the Weekly Energy Boost.
That's my limited belief system. And then he's like, oh, well, actually. And then he starts writing how retail is huge and how this company and that company did this and all these things. And actually, online is very small compared to what retail is. And then all of a sudden, boom, my belief system shifted. I said, wow, this is amazing.
Well, isn't that's one of the reasons that the Kabbalists talk about having a teacher, is so that you have somebody to reflect on you a higher frequency than you're broadcasting at.
Completely. Every coach needs to have a coach. Everyone needs to have a mentor. I know you and I, we have several, not just Kabbalah people, we have several different avenues that we connect with. And the responsibility of these people is to help us overcome our limited minds. That's all it is. It's like my mind is kind of racing with all these different things. I talked to a friend who said, the best thing that I did is I think I talked about this in a show. I got a business coach for $5,000 a month, and he meets me once a month. I said, once a month? 1 hour for $5,000? I said, that's very expensive. He's like, yeah, but I 20x'd my business as a result, and he just kept removing all these limited belief systems. So, and this coach knows.
Now everybody's going to want the phone number for that coach.
We talked about this once, I think,
Yeah.
When I think Marcus does work like this with business people, but that's the truth, that one person in 1 hour can help you overcome so many limited belief systems that it can generate tremendous, because once you open the negative belief system, the abundance flows from every direction. Business, your health, the way you treat your body, the way you treat your family, the way you treat your parents. We have so many limitations there. And if any one of us has lack in any part of our life, you must know, especially if you had this lack for a long period of time, it is some kind of limited way you're looking at this relationship that is causing this lack. And the best way is to align yourself with people. I mean, it's not just...
Everyone's asking who's the coach, by the way.
Oh, who's that coach? Well, are you willing to pay if you're willing to pay $5,000, you can message me. If you're not willing to pay, that's what a lot of people do. Who's the coach? I said, this is the coach. He's $5,000. Oh, that's too much. And then they go away. It's like, is there an ebook I can buy? Is there some kind of a book I can download free on Kindle?
I know. I'm noticing how you have the Farsi accent when you talk about money being cheap.
Okay. All right. Let's continue. So the second part of aligning yourself with people with belief systems that are better than yours is you actually have to give to receive that belief system. So when I see someone that has a belief system that I want, I have to offer value, because you can't actually receive energy until you give them. So the only way to receive a part of their essence, their soul, it says that you have to serve them or give them in some way. So when I approach this person, I don't ask them, tell me what to do. Quite the opposite. I say, well, what can I give you? What can I offer you? And sometimes, it is a payment. But a lot of these people out in the world that I try to align myself with, it's not about payment. It's something else. It's sometimes they just want a great student. They want someone who will listen and execute. And that enough for them is like, you make them feel great. You make them feel like they have a protege. And other times it's adding value to their business. Say, look, I feel I want to add this value to you. And that's it. Just add value. And then you receive a part of their essence and their soul as well.
Well, that actually goes back to the point about recognizing that everything comes from the creator, right? Imagine the creator is like the master teacher.
Right. And
in order for you to receive from this master teacher, you also have to acknowledge their greatness, right, that they're the cause. It's a little known fact that in one of the Kabbalistic meditations for prosperity, the meditation is literally know that all of your abundance and sustenance comes from the Creator and no one else. Mm-hmm. And that, using what David's talking about, being around somebody serving or giving back or reciprocating or adding value, it doesn't only work on the human level, it also works on the cosmic level. And for that reason, the whole idea of how can I give back, or how can I reciprocate what I'm receiving? How can I create circuitry? How can I not be... I read something really beautiful, actually, that when still water grows bacteria, algae, but water that's flowing doesn't.
Yeah, are you a river or a swamp?
Right. Going back to last year's river or swamp episodes, it's knowing that the flow that I create actually creates space for more, and knowing the source of the flow is not an individual. There's even though somebody may sign your paycheck, that it's not up to the signator how much money you make. It's up to the universe, and that's why even though you may encounter a struggle and you may be passionate about what you're trying to do and you feel that there is a person or a situation that's putting up a wall in front of you, that's also part of the divine plan.
Correct.
Acknowledging it's part of the divine plan is actually one of the ways to move the wall.
Correct.
When you think it's between you and the other person, when you think that the the grandchild is between you and your child and your son-in-law, you forget the bigger picture. And by plugging back into the bigger picture, you open yourself up to receive even more. That's why the whole concept of abundance is relative. It's not, you can't say, well, this person is more abundant than me. Mm-hmm. This person has more prosperity than me. It's between you and the Creator, not between you and them. So looking at even that concept of abundance and where, we have one really good question on the other feed I want to get to. But the abundance is not, again, it's not a currency. We should be desiring abundance in all areas of life. Mm-hmm. And that's really the bottom line of what David said at the very beginning, right? You don't want a cushy bank account if it's at the expense of your relationship with your children. You don't want a yacht if it's at the expense of your health. Make sure that in your expressing your desires that you're not limiting. We got a few questions here that are very powerful and in very different, same question in different words. How do you distinguish between the voice of your soul and the voice of your ego? And that's a question that we get often, but we haven't gotten it recently. So I think it's, especially in this conversation, that it's important to distinguish.
So let's say the person feels a desire to manifest themselves in the world in some way, right? So all forms of giving, right? The giving is a trait of the Creator. Creator is a giving force. So every time I have a desire to give and share, this aspect of it, it's called chesed. In Kabbalah, it's called chesed. It means mercy or sharing. This part of it is divine. Of course, there are other aspects that attach itself to it, which is more the givurah. It's the negative side. And there's no such thing as something that's pure positive or pure negative. There's always these two forces. So if I feel, for example, my destiny is to be a king of a country, let's say. That's what I feel strongly. And unless I'm a king, I rather die, right? Usually you know that unless you're this thing, it's not even worth it to live. That's how you know it's your purpose. Let's say I'm meant to be a king. Okay, why do I want to be a king? Okay, because I want to help my kingdom. I want to give to my people. I want to nourish them. So this part of it is very spiritual. That's the light. Then there's another part of it, which we all have, which is I want to be respected. I want everyone to love me because I feel lack of love. I don't love myself. I want power because there's nothing wrong with power. The Creator is powerful, but I want power because I'm insecure. So this part of it is then what we need to take responsibility for. So a lot of times people say, oh no, there's too much ego. I shouldn't be a king. No, you should be a king. And you should also work on yourself as on your way to becoming a king. So you have to, that's why we say the spiritual work must be there all the time first. So every day you should ask yourself, what is the negativity associated with being a king? Let me work on that today, even when I'm not a king. This is how I would understand the voice of the light and the voice of the opponent.
There was a question about breaking, how do we, the belief systems that are more subtle, right? The unconscious belief systems. There is a way, a technique that I've recommended to people quite often. I would recommend that you sit down and you write a list of the things that your goals, not the tangible material goals, but the intangible. How do you want to feel? Let's say in a year from now, what do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? You want to feel confident. You want to feel successful. You want to feel influential, impactful. You want to feel relevant. You want to feel wise. And how do you want other people to feel from you? What do you want other people to feel from you? I want them to feel safe and secure. Beautiful. I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel inspired, right? You make the list. It's 2 lists, essentially. But then what you look for is what do you need to do or to change in order to have more of that essence, that energy there. So, for example, let's say you want people to feel safe and secure around you.
Right.
If you're honest with yourself, that will probably mean being less judgmental, being less critical, being less self-critical, right? There's a lot of potential steps on the way to being more, being a beacon of security, safety, comfort for others. And I think that that's a much more, doing it because there's a positive energy at the end of the road is a much more inspired way to get there than saying, I'm judgmental. I have to stop being judgmental. Keep your eyes to, stay in your lane, put your eyes on the floor. Don't look at what anyone else is doing. That's a little bit harsh
Sure.
and not so uplifting, rather than thinking, okay, in order for me to be more wise, I need to study more. I need to surround myself with more knowledgeable people. Like you'll get a strategy, I think, a much more clear-cut and inspired strategy to achieve those things. And the benefit will probably end up being more abundance, more confidence, more of the things that you're trying to attract anyway on a material level.
All entrepreneurs or business owners who are listening to us, initially when you built your business, it's because you had a desire to share at the root of it. There was a way you wanted to add value to your customers. And what inevitably happens years in when you start to gain traction and success is you get bogged down by the details of the business, the profit, the cash flow, all the stuff that comes with it, the headache. And this happens in relationships too. You're dating someone and all you think about is how can I share and add value to this person? You get married, you get bogged down. The kids, the family, the stresses of life. All of a sudden you forget the original mission, which is unity and love with the person that you chose to live with, to be partners with.
We actually have somebody who's saying, every time I do prosperity work, my husband receives the benefit.
I was about to comment on that.
I love it.
It's a very spiritual question.
It's a beautiful question. I think we should talk about it.
So going back to what we were saying before, that every day you have to reignite the original mission because your customers will feel otherwise. If you start to lose that intention of desire to share and add value, you'll start to come out with services or products that don't have that energy intelligence anymore. So your customers will pick up your product, for example, and feel that there's no energy there because you lost that internal desire to share. Now it's more about selling. Now it's more about building the brand or whatever it is. So it's very important that the energy intelligence, every day you wake up, it's about the customer. It's about the ultimate adding value to the world so that you always have that energy. You're flowing all the time.
Should we talk about the husband's paycheck blessing?
It's a very spiritual. The question was, I do spiritual work, and then my husband all of a sudden becomes successful. There's a lot to that question. I think when we have a whole session just about relationships, we've had them, and we will have them again about marriage. One of the things it says is that in a male-female relationship, we can talk about other kinds of relationship on another show, but a heterosexual male-female relationship, the female always has the greater power to draw and manifest energy. And that's why it says for every man that if you have to treat your wife with such a regard, the highest level of regard and respect and admiration, because she ultimately has the power to manifest the energy of the home. That energy will come through you, maybe as the man, that might happen, but it's the woman that has the power to build or to destroy. And this is also the responsibility of a woman, why a spiritual woman is so valuable. And a man should do everything and anything to hold on to a spiritual woman. But most importantly, and when the woman is not spiritual, it's a reflection that the man is not spiritual. So the man is disobeying the spiritual laws of the universe. So the woman is reflecting it upon him and showing him she doesn't want to. She's being asked by the universe to do so, to push him to transform and change.
Well, I'm speechless. I'm speechless after that promotion. The two things that I want to make sure we leave you with before we sign off. One is that being that we're in the month of Sagittarius, the month of Kislev, one of the gifts, and you'll see this throughout these shows. I mentioned last week that we would touch upon it in each show. This month is about expansion. Mm-hmm. In every sense of the word, of being unlimited, thinking unlimited, feeling unlimited, and what you'll see show up, not only in this week there may be a focus on abundance and sustenance, but the universe is going to ask you, why does Cyber Monday fall in the week of abundance, right? And Giving Tuesday, no less. Because the universe is triggering us to look at our mindset, our consciousness, our perspectives on prosperity and abundance and fix them.
Right.
So it's not a punishment, it's a reward. And obviously, we have our own Cyber Monday specials. If you, ironically or not ironically, if you are looking to start studying Kabbalah or you want to share wisdom tools with friends and family, it's a great, I think a book is a great holiday gift. We have a Cyber Monday sale today as well. But I think that the real understanding is money has the energy I attribute to it. Mm-hmm. Think about it. I can use my money for corruption, I don't want to say death, but really ugly, horrible. There's plenty of movies and TV shows about how money can be used for the wrong things. I can also use my money, my abundance, my influence for positive things. Mm-hmm. And this week, the universe is going to challenge us to look at those things, to ask those questions, to reflect, and to make those changes. 30-second farewell to our friends and listeners.
We talked about 3 points, which is our belief system around money, to an abundance, to elevate that belief system and to remove the negative ones. Number 2, we talked about personally doing our own spiritual work and correcting our fears and our negativity will help us understand our soul's purpose and make it clear to us. And the third thing we said, a tool, which is to surround ourselves and to serve and to give people of higher consciousness, or they have certain traits that we want to adopt. And by spending that time with them and giving to them and as a result receiving from them, that's how we expand our belief system and consciousness. Just one tool of many, many tools.
Right. I'm going to leave you with a very brief story that hopefully will be your guiding light in the coming week. It's more of like a folk tale, but there's a story about a Kabbalist who gathered his students together and said, we're going to dinner. This is where we're going. They show up at a shack basically in the wilderness, and there's a man and his wife there. And the man recognizes this is this master Kabbalist. He invites him in, and the man says to the Kabbalist, can I bring you anything? Can I serve you? He said, yeah, we're here for dinner. Cook up whatever you can. And the husband and wife, they cook up this grand meal. The Kabbalist and let's say his 10, 12 students are eating the meal. They finish, and the Kabbalist turns to the man and says, what else do you have? Mm-hmm. And basically they cooked out their entire, everything that they had. They're poor. All they have to their name is the cow that they milk, that they bring the milk to the marketplace, that they sell and barter with so that they can have whatever they have during the week. So he didn't want to disappoint the master Kabbalist. It was such an honor for it to have him at his home. So he goes to the kitchen with his wife and he says, honey, I think we have to get rid of Bessie and serve some steaks to these people. And the wife says, how can we? Then we won't have a cow to milk. And they go back and forth. He's worried. They want to have a family. They want to grow. What are they going to do?
This is their only source of income. They have this little cow.
This is like a
Skinny
200-year-old, and it was a skinny cow, no less, right? Yeah. They're arguing how much meat are we even going to get out of it. In the end, they give in. They
slaughter the cow.
They slice it up, put it on the barbecue, serve it to the Kabbalist. Upon finishing the ribeye and the sirloin and the porterhouse, they clean, dab the fat from their lips, and they go home.
And the students are baffled.
The students are baffled, right? They see that they have tortured.
Taken everything from.
Literally, there is not a grain of flour left in their house. There is not an egg, nothing. Okay, they've literally eaten them out of house and home.
A student asked the Kabbalist, how could you do this? And he said, one day you'll know. And then that was it.
Right. So, again, they trusted him. He was a miracle maker, wise beyond who knows. They leave. And they sit on the bed, the husband and wife, they say, I can't believe we just did that. And the wife is crying, and the husband starts to cry, and he leaves the house. He goes out into the forest. He's crying. He's begging. He's saying, God, please help me. What can I do? What just happened there? I know that it was divinely, but now we have nothing to eat. We have no money to make. What are we going to do? And he falls to his knees, and he hears a thud, in the forest. So he starts to move the dirt and the grass away, and he uncovers a treasure chest filled with riches beyond belief. And the Kabbalists always tell this story because if that man had not been willing to let go of the skinny cow, he never would have wandered into the forest, desperate for help, desperate for solutions, open to, like, the losing his skinny cow cracked him open.
The continuation of the story is that 5 years later, the Kabbalists and the students were sitting, and then a chariot comes by with a very wealthy man in the chariot. And this wealthy man stands up, and nobody recognizes him besides the master Kabbalist. And he comes and he gives the Kabbalist a big hug. And he says that, thanks to you, I am now one of the wealthiest men in the city. And the master Kabbalist then told the students that I saw in his destiny that the Creator wanted to give him so much, but because he was holding on to that skinny cow, and that skinny cow that just gave a little milk each day, he was never able to fulfill his potential. Our mission going to his house was to prompt him to share and to get rid of his skinny cow, which opened up his vessel to the abundance that the Creator wanted to give him.
So focus this week on letting go of your skinny cow. Have a wonderful one, and we will see you next Monday on the Weekly Energy Boost.